Welcome into another exciting episode of the Dynasty Brews podcast. We are live on Belly Up TV, Twitter, and YouTube right now. And we're just coming off the first game of the season. Justin, I don't know how you're feeling about why. I do know how you're feeling about it because one, you're a Daryl Henderson fan. Two, you're a Bills fan. And three, you're a fantasy football fan. So for all three of those answers, you were saying, yippee! This is
This is
awesome for you, man.
yeah,
How are you doing
Henderson.
today, boss?
I'm doing good. The only way today could have been better is if Tyler Beatty was on the active roster and starting on Sunday. But I'll take Henderson. I'll take that win and keep piling up these wins in
Hey,
Dynasty.
yeah, and for all intents and purposes, Tyler Beatty, with the history of the Ravens backfield, there's still a very good chance that he could make it up from the practice squad and be relevant at some point.
Probably not, but
So, but we're like you said, we're gonna take those W's. We're gonna tell more people how to get more W's. But first off, let's do a little review of this game. 31-10. It looked like it could have been an early blowout easily if it wasn't for one, a loss of the ball from Isaiah McKenzie that led to an interception that I think was rightfully placed as, not Josh Allen's fault. They said it on live broadcast. If you could ever place a tag, an asterisk along an interception that says not his fault, that was the exact moment
yeah,
for it. It was just, he bobbled it when he had it, and it went straight into the linebacker who had perfect coverage on him. So what are you going to do about it? And then, not first round pick, I think it was second round pick, right? James Cook. Yeah,
negative two
totally.
Cook, -2 Cook.
Yep, -2 Cook, fumble Cook, not Dalvin Cook. What else
Oh,
can we say about him?
yeah,
Um,
he got me. He did in fact get me -2 points on my starting roster. I'm in a productive struggle rebuild, and I think I've got like 8 2023 firsts. Mr. James Cook is paired with. The other thing that sucks though is I had Zach Moss on my bench.
yeah, that does suck. I mean, that's one name I didn't expect to hear
I mean, I
early
did.
often.
I was telling Joe Pepe on Twitter the other day about like sneaky plays, and Moss was kind of the sneaky snart of the week. That's more of a DFS pick, but I expected a little bit more Moss. Um, I wasn't terribly surprised. I was more surprised at the workload Singletary got.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even surprised by that. At the end of the day, we're expecting the Bills to change up their game plan, but they didn't really change up their squad. So why would they do that? I mean, I think that Devin Singletary, you can't rely on him like a bruiser. If they wanted a bruiser, they would have got Brees Hall, but they
That's why
didn't.
they have
So,
Zach Moss, the bruiser.
so you know what? I'll tell you what. In PPR, he actually got you 10 points. So, yippee to Zach Moss. Maybe that train comes back, but maybe we can just, derail that train and never see
What's
it
funny
again.
is you're talking to the guy that literally had no shares of Moss, and then within like the last 2 months, I listened to Joe Biscali of the Buffalo Beat, and man is very good at his job. He was like, Zach Moss is gonna have a role, yada yada. So I was like, all right, I'll give up a 4th round pick for Moss, and now I've got him pretty much everywhere.
Well, I mean, if you play him in, a deep league, you
A
probably
rebuild.
were happy with him. But Zach Moss is still somebody I drafted when he came out, and
I,
not regrettably, some regrettable part is that I have him on some of my rosters. So, I wish I had gotten rid of all the shares. Some of them I dropped after last year when I thought that he was as buried as a dog's bone. But obviously, he has resurrected his career in some way, shape, or form. And James Cook laying an egg yesterday definitely helped out with, the whole James or the Zach Moss hype again. But
it's funny, Steve, who's a regular co-host on here with us, very much into Zach Moss, but was also into Antonio Gibson, and we had a debate of Gibson versus Moss, and of course we went with Gibson. And then a year later, the debate became selling high on Gibson, and that's the trade I speak of, where I got 2 1s and 2 2s for Gibson. So that was like the best second round avoidance of disaster that I can ever speak of. Is got Gibson and then cashed out when the time to getting cashing out was right. And it's just the way you play with these running backs. You make these bets, and then the second they hit stardom, you got to start considering cashing these guys out pretty quick.
Hey, you know what's funny is a year, 2 years ago, you could have pulled that off. Now, no, not only does nobody want Gibson, nobody wants to spend that kind of capital on a running back because the narrative is so driven that these guys only maybe got like 3 to 5 years if they're good. And, if they're
And
great,
their
they got a little bit more.
and their
But
draft capital is significantly dropping.
yeah,
Really it's going to be, what used to be a first round pick, it's going to be a second round pick now. Like second round running backs are the players you want instead of it being, it's funny. Emmett's 5, and I think 5 years ago, I was holding him, and the Cowboys, I want to say, took Zeke like top 10. I want to say that's about the timeline I remember. Otherwise, I'm a terrible father, but I'm actually pretty wrong on that. So I think it was before he was born. But either way, I remember the Cowboys taking Zeke top 10, and that's just never going to happen again.
that's for you getting your son's age wrong.
It's not my son's age. It's really just the Cowboys. When did the Cowboys take Zeke?
Well, it doesn't matter when they took him. It matters that he is almost a lost cause at this point in this season. But we will get to that a little bit later. I want to talk about this game. Who are you overly impressed with? Are there a couple guys that now you're seeking out in Dynasty to kind of just grab? A couple names that really stood out. Gabe Davis kind of propped up his value. Isaiah McKenzie, even though he contributed to that interception, he also had a touchdown himself. Jamison Crowder is also in the mix there.
None of those names should surprise you if you follow me on Prediction Strike or if you follow my Twitter. Was all over the slot receiver role this offseason with Isaiah McKenzie. It's a real thing. Seen 120 plus targets to that position each of the last 2 years. McKenzie's a real threat this year, and I think you could have gotten him for a third round pick headed into the game last night. I don't understand why people didn't. Jeff Bell made fun of me at the time. I love his work for propping up Jamison Crowder, and I was totally wrong on that. Jeff Bell was right, and the name that everyone likes Gabe Davis, and that's a great pick, but I actually think a hot take here could be I think Isaiah McKenzie could still fall within, we'll say, 25 points of Gabe Davis by season's end.
Well, to be fair to your argument, Jeff Bell came on TSS Fantasy and predicted that Dawson Knox was going to be his sleeper from the Bills. So, in your face, Jeff, Isaiah McKenzie outscored Dawson Knox, and I mean the whole team pretty much got more targets than him.
Yeah,
and no worries, Jeff. We love you. I'm just messing around.
And yeah, I'm a big fan of Knox. I think Knox is good, but I think Knox is a little overhyped in the community right now because of all those touchdowns he scored.
Well, also because of his
Knox is
contract,
not
so they're almost like inferring he's going to be there for a while.
I mean, he's not a target hog. That target hog belongs to Diggs and it belongs to the slot based on the history of this offense. Now, who knows? Gabe Davis could be carving up a pretty good role. Like I liked Davis, but I didn't love the cost because I felt like it was inflated.
I love the role that he showed yesterday for sure. Like if he's getting that kind of targets, I will buy in on Gabe Davis every single day of the week. Like yeah.
Now the one thing is, the hard part is I just don't know if you were paying the prices that you paid this offseason, you had to expect that performance because his price was there.
100%. I mean, it validated a lot of people's capital value that went to him. I was getting Abe Davis early on. When he started to fall into the 5th round, that's when I started saying I'm going to pass on Gabe Davis. But early in the offseason, everybody always makes fun of people for drafting early. If you already have your set guys that you think are going to break out, it's perfect to draft early. You talk to people now that are drafting Dameon Pierce in the 5th. I drafted Dameon Pierce in the 11th and the 12th rounds of some of these drafts.
Yeah.
People would kill for that type of value now.
Yeah, for sure. But again, running back, sell him.
Yeah. For a first and a second, if I could ever get that deal.
What's crazy is I bet you,
I'll have to
what do
have you
you
start brokering my team's deals for me because
what
somehow you got Antonio Gibson, you got 2 firsts and 2 seconds for it. I'm like over here
that
like
was after his rookie season, and he showed a lot. I mean, and to be fair, it's Devi, so they're a little bit. No, it wasn't. It actually wasn't Devi. Sorry. But what I will say is, it's still fascinating to me that Gabe Davis showed out last night. I still think you can get Isaiah McKenzie for pretty cheap right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can, but I definitely think his value is going up. So, with with what he showed last night, is he showed exactly what you were saying, is that the slot receiver is going to be involved. And I think when that kind of showed off that, they're going to target him, it's going to be him or Crowder. I don't know if I'm so sure to go grab him for whatever price that people want.
Who,
Somebody's
Crowder?
going to want a second for him. And I'm going to be like,
Crowder? Oh.
is he really worth a second?
I mean, you might be able to get Crowder too. Crowder, here's the deal. Football is, it's funny. When I played high school football, my coach always said, after the first practice, he's like, gentlemen, football is a contact sport. I'm required to tell you by the law. So grabbing Crowder really isn't a terrible deal if you can get him for dirt cheap right now, because people might think he's kind of done. And if something happens to McKenzie, then Crowder's going to jump right in that role.
So what Justin's saying is don't do it this week because nobody on the Bills is going to be dirt cheap unless his name is James Cook. Because nobody wants that. Nobody wants that right now.
James Cook is going to be a value. It's a fumble. It happened.
He's going to be better than this, but all I'm saying is, like, if you're going to trade for him, don't do it this week. Or I mean,
But
do it this week. Yeah.
I mean,
don't trade for McKenzie this week.
Why don't you trade Cam Akers for Isaiah McKenzie right now? That's the trade you should do.
Perfect transition. The Rams offense, outside of the 2 top performers from last year, looked very shaky at times. The offensive line does not look very solid. The run game, outside of your boy Henderson, who still I think only was averaging within the range of about 3 yards per carry.
There was at the half he was about 4.6. But yes, I'm going to chalk this up to a couple things too. The line hasn't gotten considerably worse. I mean, let's face facts. The Bills' D line was pretty good. Now, I think the Bills' line is going to probably be talked about too much this week. There are issues along that line, but that line isn't terribly worse than it was last year. I think Henderson has been a great bet all offseason, and I would continue to go into that. I just don't see Akers getting this job back, especially with the comments I've seen from McVay today. I think investing in Henderson, as we've suggested all offseason, was probably the best thing we could have advised you to do, I think, in terms of late round running backs that are values.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I gave up a second round pick for him last year. I wish I could have gotten him this offseason.
Yeah. And, I have to thank you for that one because I got on him late, but his value never really changed. It always seemed like Akers was always borderline 5th, and he was around 12th, 13th round. And I was like, that's a perfect steal, to a point where I wrote an article about it. I was like, you got to get these running backs that are at a good price to have a good opportunity. And he was definitely one of them. Another guy, Allen Robinson. Do you look at this as what a lot of people are, as the trust factor? Or do you think that maybe Allen Robinson is just not going to be as good as you think he's going to be?
That one's a little bit more of a struggle. I saw the videos posted today of like, look how wide open he was. And I started looking at him and I'm like, I don't know. I tend to consider myself kind of a film junkie. I think I'm good at grading film based on my rosters. He really wasn't that wide open. when you start looking at the coverages that they were in. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm all for buying him on the cheap. I listen to the footballers. I love the podcast, but I always felt that people were way too high on this guy for what he showed out last year. I need to see a little bit more. I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to go get him if I have to pay what I've had to pay this offseason. I know it's kind of a cop out answer. I think he can be a value, but nothing that I've seen on film, and even the Al Robinson truthers that posted those videos today, I need to see more. I think, there's it's concerning that wasn't this wide open against what I considered a terrible Bills secondary going into the game.
Yeah. And I mean, to be real with it, Stafford never really looked his direction. Breaking down, you want to break down film, look at that entire game and tell me, and look where Allen Robinson lines up, and look where Stafford he always stares down Cup to see if Cup is open before anything else, and rightfully so. But he's got to get used to the idea that he has two options back there, that he has two reliable, good receivers. That Allen Robinson's been a number one before. The entire game, I just kept seeing he was looking at Cup's direction, and I understand it. Like I said, that's your number one guy. That was the guy that was getting open, making plays when they were doing stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to be able to read the entire field, especially in a situation like you said, where you had a weaker Bills defense. I mean, they were starting their 6th-round pick from this year, not even their first rounder, Kyer Elam.
It's a joke. Like, their secondary is not the greatest right now. Trey White's not there. I mean, that's why I wrote an article on Prediction Strike the other day about, all off season. I kept saying I don't think Allen's going to repeat, but then I changed my tune once Trey White went on the pup, because over these next 4 weeks, Allen's going to have to just keep scoring. I mean, it's going to be scary when they get Trey White back, if he can be what he once was, and then Allen doesn't have to put up 31 points. Not that he had to really, but yeah. And then in terms of targets, like, here's what I saw, and I didn't get to watch a ton of the game. My wife was not feeling the greatest, and then I had to get my kids in bed, so I didn't get to watch until the second half. But it was on the background, and from what I could tell, it was Cup was the clear one, and then really it was either Higbee or Henderson. I mean, really, you're looking at the fourth option in this offense with Allen Robinson, unless the game plan, unless they thought they could exploit something that they'd seen on film from the Bills. But I just, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that game tape and look at it and be like, oh, yeah, this is what the Rams exploited. Because it was the only thing that they did was prove that Cooper Kupp is still uncoverable. But at the end of the day, like, Stafford was missing high. He was missing routes. Like, there were a lot of routes where I was just like, is this guy is he on the wrong route, or did Stafford misread what was going on there? Because he was missing way too often, way too high. It looked like a lot of times he was throwing 9 routes when these guys were running crosses.
I forget the analysts, and they deserve credit for this, but I read that the Bills actually exploited the Rams because they found on film last year that when Stafford was blitzed, he was phenomenal last year. But most of his interceptions, like 95% of them last year, came on 4-man rushes where, they didn't have to blitz people, and they were in zone coverage. And that's what the Bills do. The Bills McDermott's an excellent defensive coach, and so is Leslie Frazier. It's funny, a little bit of a tangent here, but still related to the Bills. I was surprised that Leslie Frazier wasn't interviewed last year, because I still felt like Frazier was the better head coaching candidate based on what he did in Minnesota with no talent at quarterback than Brian Daboll, who I honestly believe, watching the game last night, from what I could tell, I think Dorsey is a better play caller than Daboll. Dale might be a good coach of the position and like a teacher, but as far as play calling goes, I could not have been happier with Dorsey's play calling as opposed to Daboll's.
That's fair enough. We will definitely find out if Brian Daboll is a good head coach. And it is a perfect transition into what we are going to be doing next. But before that, we are going to be talking about our friends over at SeatGeek. That's right. That's right, Brew Crew. come on down to SeatGeek.com. Go purchase your tickets. Go get them for the first game. Type in the promo code Dynasty Brews and we'll get you $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek. You know it's the season. We are here. Let's go. You want to go to a Dolphins game? You want to go to a Niner game? You want to go to the Bears game? You want to go wherever? Go get it. We'll save you $20. That's one beer on the Dynasty Brews podcast. Let's go get it. Go right now, SeatGeek.com, and we will save you $20 off your first purchase with the promo code Dynasty Brews.
Just don't go to a Dolphins game. Don't do that to yourself, especially if you have kids. Don't put your kids through that.
And we got humidity out in Maryland too. But you know what? The one thing that helps is when you win a football game. It makes sweating your balls off make that much better.
But see, that's why you shouldn't go to a Dolphins. I'm just joking. Use our promo code and go to a game, please.
Nothing against Dolphin fans.
No.
But let's start off with the Dolphins game. You know, we're Dolphins Patriots. Who do you like in this game? Who are you starting? If you've got any DFS guys you want to go throw in there, shout them out. This is a divisional game. It's Bill Belichick coming in. He's got to defend both Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. We get our first look at what Tua's going to look like with weapons. There's a lot of good options here. You know, Raheem Mostert last preseason game seemed to have some sort of a resurgence. I'm here to tell you it doesn't last very long as a Niners fan.
Justin, I gotta tell you, when you look at this in terms of sneaky starts this weekend,
yeah,
I think Jacoby Myers is the guy you want. I would avoid any of these Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle type deals. Belichick's going to throw the sink at Tua, and I don't think Tua's going to respond accordingly. I mean, another thing that's funny in terms of dynasty, if you are rebuilding or you're short a quarterback, I think Teddy Bridgewater makes a hell of a lot of sense to go pick up on waivers because that's usually where he is. I just feel like Tua's been getting injured quite a bit. I saw, against the Bills, he's got injured twice. So I feel like you could go get him off waivers and you might have a quarterback the second half of the season. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire, but I remember that Alex Smith had great years with Tyreek Hill, and Alex Smith wasn't the most gifted passer at the time downfield. So there's that. But as far as DFS goes, yeah, I think you could roll out Jacoby Myers and do pretty well. I would probably... I don't know if I'd pair him with Mac Jones. I don't know how much action you really want to do in terms of these teams. But Jacoby Myers definitely has the upside there.
That's phenomenal.
I have no idea what that was on top of my screen, but hey.
Was that just like a random bug that just fell on your screen or something? DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, all guys Teddy Bridgewater has thrown the ball to. And tell me one that's been better because Teddy Bridgewater threw him the ball. Tell me one year that Teddy Bridgewater was good because he was throwing the ball to those all-star receivers.
I'm not saying that he's going to be like a top. What I'm saying is the name of the game in Superflex. If you are quarterback poor, life sucks. And you can get a quarterback for pretty much free right now in Teddy Bridgewater. I have a feeling that he'll play at least 3 games this season. Even that introductory press conference was kind of stumbled upon, but he kind of alluded to the fact that he signed there because he has been told he has a shot to play. If you go back to when he was first introduced, I don't think that they are as completely sold on Tua as the believers of Tua.
Well, if you ask Brian Flores, it should have been Justin Herbert in South Florida. But I mean,
I never trust that, by the way. I never trust when coaches say that.
Hindsight is very funny. You can't say it back then, but when you get spiteful about it, you can say it. So I don't know. Yeah. Definitely,
unless you're Doug Marrone and you openly say on the radio after the draft that I was not there when they decided to draft EJ Manuel. I was at a restaurant, and it was confirmed by several beat reporters. Then I give you the benefit of the doubt. But then you lose in Jacksonville, so.
Yeah, well. What you gonna do? Doug Marone's always got the shitty end of the stick. But anyways, let's move on to the next one because we're never gonna get through all of this if we don't move on. Jets Ravens. Is there anybody on the
Michael
Jets?
Carter.
No, come on. Come on. I want you to be real with me. Michael Carter.
Yeah, Michael Carter. Passing down back, Mr. Joe Flacco. I think he's gonna. I actually think this is my upset of the week. We should do a pick 'em. We should really start picking these games and go against each other and keep tally for the season.
Oh, we'll do it right now. I'll write it all down right now, handwritten, and then I will put it up on Twitter, and we will figure this out. We will have a little bit of a record. You want the Jets, right?
Jets. Yep.
All right. So, who did you want for the Patriots Dolphins game?
I'm gonna go with the Patriots.
All right. I love it. We're already against each other. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins, and I am gonna go with the logical answer, the Ravens. You go with the Jets. You go
Remember,
with the Pats.
remember, it's all over here.
How can you not? How could you go against Mark Andrews,
How could I?
Rashad Bateman, and Lamar Jackson when the only thing on the other side that is worthy of defensive talking about is Sauce Gardner, and that's just because his name is freaking Sauce. Tell me how you can do that.
I don't think it's all sunshine and rainbows in Baltimore. I think there's a lot of animosity that's not being reported on. Lamar Jackson does not have a new deal. They traded away his number one wide receiver from last year in Hollywood Brown. Bateman hasn't really done anything. I know everyone wants to talk about how great Bateman is, but he's got to do it on the field. He's got to put up those numbers. And I actually think that Saleh is a very good defensive coordinator, and this is going to be the upset special of the week. I'm telling you. And I just don't feel like the Ravens have really locked down. That secondary is still kind of an issue to me too.
So my question for you: are you saying don't start Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
All right. That's all I needed to hear. Let's move on to Jacksonville and Washington. The Commanders. Carson Wentz gets a chance to redeem himself against the Jaguars right away, week 1. How are you liking the Commies' chance to take out the Jaguars? Do you like the Jaguars with a revamped offense and their first-round pick defensive lineman? Give me a lowdown of who you like in this game.
I think the trendy pick right now is Jacksonville, and I don't think that's where I'm going with this at all. I think that Washington's got everything they need here. They have a quarterback that can actually throw the football, which is going to alleviate the pressure their defense faced last season where they were on the field what felt like the entire game because Heineke could not move the ball effectively enough, so their defense would get tired out in the second half of games. If you look at those games, really, the first half their defense would play heroically well, and then they would just get freaking tired and gassed out. So give me the Reds, give me the Commanders
all the time.
Yeah, give me the Commanders here, and I actually don't even think it's close. And you want to talk about a guy that I think you should start this week, fire him up, is Terry McLaurin. And I think he's going to have himself a game.
See,
you could even fire up Wentz there, I think, too, if you're going cheap at quarterback.
When we agree, we 100% agree. Terry McLaurin is my DFS must start at wide receiver. I think he's going to have a fantastic week. I also think Wentz is going to have a good week, too. I think Wentz is going to have a lot of fire under his belly, trying to prove everybody wrong that the Jaguars was just kind of a fluke game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going 100% Washington. On the other side, I actually do like Christian Kirk. I like the way they would utilize him in preseason. I think
what about Ingram?
He's my dark horse to score at least a touchdown this week. But I like Kirk more as like a good stopgap or a check valve for Trevor Lawrence than Ingram. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to be moving the chains more than Ingram is. But I do agree. I think Ingram has a good chance of scoring a touchdown in this game.
Yeah.
Low key, a guy that I'm trying to slide in a lot of lineups because I'm trying to go heavy, Marvin Jones. Everybody keeps forgetting Marvin Jones had like 3 back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving years. He's still very good. He can still get down deep and down the field.
You'll laugh. The only reason why I don't like any of the names you're saying is because I actually think the start of the week is the Washington defense.
And that's fair enough. But you got to remember, Chase Young is not back there, so it's going to be hard to bring the pressure. And that secondary, oh my God, that secondary is just atrocious. Um, so, I mean, I wouldn't go there, but more power to you, my friend. Let's see. Next game, let's talk a little. We're talking some rivalries. Let's talk about the new brewing rivalry. The former progressive man himself, he handed over the keys to the Cleveland Browns, and now he's got himself a new Carolina key. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers playing the Cleveland Browns. Who do you like anybody in this? And do you? Well, we already got the first Christian McCaffrey scare of the week or the year. He got cleated on his shin and had a nice little cut. Everybody freaked out. It's nothing, but obviously the first injury scare for CMC of the season. Something we all kind of are always waiting on. You're always on pins and needles, wondering when this guy is going to go down, and it would happen to be his own teammates this time. But who do you like in this game? And who are you sitting in this game? Seems like the logical answer could be a lot of guys here. Maybe just go with the basic first and second rounders. But let me hear your analysis
I mean,
and give me your winner.
I hate telling people to start Baker Mayfield, and I really hate telling people to trust the Panthers offense, especially when I have a guy telling me that DJ Moore is top 24. But at the same time,
Which he is.
what's going on in Cleveland? Really, there's nothing in here that excites me. But I'll pick the Panthers. They got the better player in Christian McCaffrey. Then you got Nick Chubb. I mean, really, you could really just the smart play. You could probably squeeze in CMC and Nick Chubb in the same lineup. I bet you this will be a heavily run-heavy script for both teams.
I think you're absolutely right. I think Nick Chubb is gonna have the better day against the Carolina offense or Carolina defense. I'm going Cleveland. Um, but I do understand what you're saying. I think that Carolina definitely has a good chance to use Christian McCaffrey in this game and try and take over. But I think that Browns defense, one, it's stout and it's got good corners on the outside. Um, this could easily be a 6 reception for 60-yard day for my top 24 wide receiver, DJ Moore. And then, on the other side, I don't think Jacoby Brissett is a bad quarterback.
I noticed there was touchdowns missing from your stats. Is that more in line with historicals, or
Yeah, I
he's only
mean,
due to score like once every 4 weeks, right?
pretty much. But he scored once every 4 weeks, and he still got some good. He still was a top 24 wide receiver last year. So I think, like I said, I think he squeezes out 2 to 3 more touchdowns and has himself a good year this year for sure. One guy I want to ask about. Do you think Kareem Hunt makes an impact in this game? Because it's going to be, a lot of running and, both have really good front sevens. I'm not going to lie. Carolina was an underrated defense last year. And obviously the Browns have been building this front seven through with first round picks for a long time. So,
Kareem Hunt to me is more of a play when you expect negative game script at this point. When you factor in the fact that you have Jacoby Brissett coming in there, who's going to run the ball with his own legs when things get rough. I think Brissett is more apt to run when the pressure hits him instead of dump it down to the running back. So really, I'm not big on Kareem Hunt this year.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Let's roll on to our next game. It's good. We're really hitting the barn burners now. Indianapolis and Houston.
So I am writing about this in my prediction strike article. It's funny. This game jumped out at me. Indianapolis fans, I don't feel like the sky could be higher for them right now with what they. I know Tim Lazenby said last week that they felt like Wentz got a raw deal, and I think they're going to feel even more like that when the Texans pull off the upset this weekend. I like the Texans actually in this one. I think the Colts are a little bit overrated. It's really going to depend on how good that defense is. And by reports I've heard, that defense is not as great as people make it out to be. So I don't think Matt Ryan's going to be guiding a top 10 offense like he did in Atlanta. And I'm going to go with the Houston Texans, another upset.
So both games last year were absolute blowouts. I don't like Matt Ryan in this game because last year Carson Wentz totaled 380 yards and 3 touchdowns over 2 starts. I think it's going to be completely scripted out to have Jonathan Taylor take over the game as per usual. I think Michael Pittman could have, if there's anybody who's going to score the touchdown through the air, it's going to be Michael Pittman.
Give me Brandon Cooks.
Oh, well, I mean, I wasn't even on the other side of the field
Yeah,
yet.
no, you're good.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like taking anybody else, maybe Naheem Hines, because like I said, they're gonna change it up. They're gonna get him more involved. And this Houston defense, while it looked good in the preseason against the 49ers, let's face it, that was just a preseason. I don't think they've improved enough. I mean, Lovie Smith is an improvement in himself, but I don't think they've improved enough to stop the run and or stop Naheem Hines from catching some passes.
I'm telling you, week one's normally a shit show, and this is part of the shit that I predict.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. You predicted quite a few underdogs at this point. I would say Houston, I think, has a good chance to finish third in this division.
Yeah,
but I don't think that they'll beat the Colts.
I
Matt,
still think Jacksonville's good, but I understand that it's
yeah,
a hot take. So
no, I mean, and it's not so much a hot take anymore. A lot of people are starting to get on the Jacksonville fan club. I think they're still a year or two away, but I mean, they could be a slow burn, kind of like Detroit's been.
yeah, it's really going to come down to how good Indy's defense. I know we're probably spending too much time on this one, but it's really going to come down to how good Indy's defense is. I don't think Indianapolis is going to be a top 10 scoring offense this season, and I don't think Jonathan Taylor repeats. I think Jonathan Taylor finishes, barring injury, probably around running back 8 to 10, and you're taking him with the first overall pick, so I don't love it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I still think Jonathan Taylor is going to finish at least in the top 5, which is exactly what you want from the top running back. You want the best chance to finish in the top 5. So I think he's still got that.
Why aren't you taking Austin Eckler then?
I'm not taking Austin Eckler because they're constantly trying to replace his touches. I mean, taking Sony Michel when you have Joshua Kelly, when you have freaking what's the rookie this year, Isaiah Spiller. You're constantly trying to get him away from the goal line.
Just like the Patriots, they're constantly trying to replace Tom Brady, and he just will not let them.
But here's the thing. Nobody's trying to replace Jonathan Taylor.
I actually think you're going to see more Hines. I know it's a hot take. We really should
see a good amount of Hines, but
you know what we should start doing? Like, if I ever get this website up, is what could be beneficial. I don't know if anyone does. Is actually like take what coaches say and see how truthful their statements are. Like write down the things they say, and then each season just say how truthful were they, and then carry that forward.
So a real intricate way to look at this now, just to expand upon it, do the same with beat reporters.
Yeah. Well, you could. I'm just telling you, like, I remember last year writing at Team Rise or Fall about how Jonathan Taylor was my RB1 because Frank Reich explicitly said that Jonathan Taylor was going to be his bell cow. I have found Frank Reich to be pretty truthful with what he's going to do with his players, and I think Hines is going to be more involved. And I know people want to dismiss it as coach speak, but I don't really take Reich as a coach speak kind of guy, to be honest.
And I mean, who's to say that we can't see them both be really successful? You know what I mean? Nobody's thinking Naheem Hines is going to go for 1,000 yards on the ground and get 200 carries. Nobody's predicting that.
No,
everybody's predicting his touches will come through the air for the most part, which is great. I mean,
he's going to do 1,000 and 1,000. Herrera.
Yeah, 1,000 and 1,000. This will be the year that I predict Eckler's downfall, and that's when he'll actually get the 1,000 and 1,000. But anyways, we have spent way too much time on the Colts and the Texans. I will say Brandon Cooks is my guy. I think he's going to have at least a touchdown in this game. And then, yeah, I mean, Davis Mills, I think he'll be fine. And I would not sleep on Nico Collins to do something in this game. But we will move on because we've got to move on due to time constraints. Tennessee and New York. Your boy Saquon Barkley. I got a problem with him doing some stuff in this game. I don't like the matchup. I think Tennessee has got a good front seven to stop the run. I have not seen it yet. I have not seen Daniel Jones dump off the ball, which all intents and purposes, Saquon Barkley was amazing that one season that he had 70 to 80 catches.
They should really have a prop bet on if Malik Willis is going to come in the game as a wildcat.
Oh, do the Trey Lance of last year?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
when he came in on the Lions on the goal line and scored.
And then Shanahan said 2 weeks later he didn't plan on having him do that the rest of the season. And they never planned on that. That's a guy. You want to talk about coach speak? That's the guy. That is Mr. Coach speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game I have NFL tickets, so I can watch any game, and I can assure you that this game will not be on in my household. I have no interest. You could flip a coin. Neither one of these teams excite me. I think both are going to be battling for the bottom rights of their division. And
wait. I thought you had a deep interest in Saquon Barkley.
I do. I like Saquon. Saquon's going to have a bunch of catches. But in terms of watchable games, this is not, as Yoda would say.
This might be a defensive struggle, but it'll probably be more of an audience struggle than anything else, is what Justin is saying.
It could be like an offensive shootout too. It could go either way. I mean, that's how bad the teams are. I like Vrabel, but
I think Tennessee is bad. I actually am one of the few people that think getting rid of AJ Brown actually may have improved their offense because now they have more weapons with Burks and Woods.
You're using Burks now. I mean, what? Yes.
So Burks to me his value has gone incredibly down to a point where I actually drafted him. You know me, I've never been a Burks guy.
I have not been a Burks. I mean, I'd rather jump in a time machine and walk the Oregon Trail than draft Treylon Burks. And I don't even think I'd survive the walk on the Oregon Trail. That's how little I have interest in this.
My man just said that he would rather reenact 1883 than draft Treylon Burks.
As far as the Oregon Trail goes, not the actual treatment of people back in 1883.
Well, we can walk the Pacific Coast Trail down in California.
I'm good.
That'll probably take you.
I never said I would survive. I played the Oregon Trail games, and it was pretty realistic because I don't think I ever survived.
Yeah. You always are. You never want to be the first one to die, but it's always satisfying when you're in the last three of the group and you have to decide whether you're going to cannibalize or something, or you get some random snake bite. You're like, oh, you were bit by a rattlesnake. You're like, oh, fudge.
I'd like to point out they're not a sponsor of the show, but we'd love to have you.
Hey, Oregon Trail, follow us.
Here we go. Oregon Trail.
We go. All right, so let's move on from this nonsense. Let's move on to some good games. Let's start talking about them in bunches. We got Green Bay versus Minnesota and Kansas City and Arizona.
This is the game that you want to stack both ways. This will be a shootout.
Which one, Kansas City, Arizona?
No, Green Bay, Minnesota.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking too.
I think that you have a coach coming in Minnesota that's an offensive guru. I think that defense is not as great as people make it out to be. I think Rodgers. I think you could roll out Rodgers with Watkins and Jefferson, and then maybe you could sprinkle in Dalvin Cook. But I don't love the correlation on that. But I think this will be a heavy scoring game.
I love me some Dalvin Cook, some Aaron Jones, some AJ Dillon in this game. I think the only thing I don't want to figure out, I just do not want to be the guy that draws a small straw when it comes to figuring out who is the Green Bay wide receiver.
But if you are doing DFS, that is what you're supposed to do.
If you're doing DFS, start Randall Cobb and load up everywhere else.
Why Randall Cobb? I think
He,
I think Watkins is. I listen to Peter King a lot.
yeah. Talk
I
about
think
a guy who gets it wrong a lot.
um I mean I listened to him this offseason. I mean he was at camp. He made it sound like Watkins is going to be pretty involved early.
Shout out to Peter King. Love you, buddy. From one host to another. Keep doing your stuff. I know you're not listening.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you on the show, though.
Oh, would absolutely take any guest I could get. But yeah, no, I think it's a Watkins week, and then he'll go off into the abyss as the Lizard King does.
Here's another thing. Speaking of Lizard King, how about we talk about the Lizard King? Supposedly he was not at practice, so now we're kind of left scratching our heads going, what's going on with Alan Lazard? This is where
he's trying to help Tom Brady with his 11-day absence. Now he's going to take an 11-day absence.
Oh, there you go. Come back week 2. But here's my thing with Randall Cobb. Good slot receiver, gets targets in the red zone, has played with Aaron Rodgers every year of his career except for 2. I think that if there's anybody who's going to go off, it's going to be somebody who knows Aaron Rodgers. And I think at this point, you could probably get him at so dirt cheap that even if he produces 10, 12 points, he'll be worth it.
He was so bad last year.
He wasn't even that bad last year.
Nope.
He still had 5 touchdowns.
Man, you're talking about Travis Kelce. We were talking about him last week. Wide receiver 36 in terms of standard scoring versus PPR.
Yep. When you convert those standard numbers to PPR, that's where that one lands.
Yep. I don't know. I don't have these numbers in front of me, and I don't want to be a jackass this week, so I'm not gonna stress about finding them. I just don't think he was that great. You're not very reliable. I get that in DFS you want unreliable players to go off that are boom or bust. You want to talk about Mr. King of boom or bust? It's Sammy Watkins. He'll get you fucking 40 points sometimes and then never see him again. But that's the upside you want, I'm telling you. That is the upside. And either next week you can look at me and say you're a jackass, or you're going to be like,
you won me some money.
This dude knows ball. He's just a little pudgy and never stares at the camera.
Yeah, you're always kind of staring off, aren't you?
Yeah.
Anyways, how about Arizona, Kansas City? Who are talking about wide receivers? Who are you locking and loading on KC right now?
Yeah, Juju, probably. That one's too popular though. Juju or Kelce?
Yeah, well, I mean, Kelsey's the obvious answer. I'm more or less thinking like, talk about another team that is so spotty. Like 1 week, Hardman will have fucking 15 to 20 points for you.
That dude is no.
What are you talking about? He fits all the metrics of Tyreek Hill, so obviously he's the next Tyreek Hill.
I remember people drafting that dude in the first round. People overreact to situations over actual talents of players. I mean, if you wanted to, well, I actually don't mind playing Clyde in this week. That's the guy you play. I mean, really, you could go Clyde or you could go Sky Moore. I think they're all too popular. I don't know. I feel like if you can find the pass catching running back.
How about Valdez-Scantling? Catching 2 passes for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I look excited because I am. I don't know.
I can feel the uncertainty in your face right now.
Yeah, I can't. It's too. I know that we're, in terms, if you're telling people to go start someone in DFS, I understand that you need to find the right guy. I just don't know who it is. I don't really have any confidence in any of these guys. I honestly could see more of a run-heavy script early on to start the season, but.
So on the flip side, are you into Marquise Hollywood Brown, knowing Rondale Moore's out, knowing that you have to deal with old rickety AJ Green stepping on the field again. Hopefully somebody puts it in his headset. Hey, you gotta go, you gotta make this route instead of that route. Maybe we see Zach Ertz on the field. He's not really guaranteed. If he's not guaranteed, is Trey McBride?
I don't know about McBride, but I want to point something out here. The first 8 weeks of the season, it was pretty clear cut that Kyler Murray was MVP. I think Kyler Murray is set to have a hot start, especially with the healthy Hollywood Brown. So if you can find who he's going to hyper target, I think that there's a lot of value in that. It's just you got to find the right connection. I think it's Hollywood Brown, and I think you could totally roll out Kyler and Hollywood, and I think you'll have a pretty good day on Sunday.
I think also James Conner. If there's one thing we found out last year,
before or after he gets hurt,
Kingsbury does not want Kyler Murray taking every touchdown rushing wise. He's actually pretty smart with his weapons.
Hey, I've heard that Kyler Murray calls the plays sometimes, so
I wouldn't be surprised. I saw Cliff Kingsbury's playing career. He wasn't impressive there either. Las Vegas versus Los Angeles. Raiders, Chargers.
Rematch from week 17. Playoff spot on the line. Is it going to tie?
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
No,
so now it's a whole different story. We have Devontae Adams in. We have J.C. Jackson doubtful. Convince me not to start Derek Carr and Devontae Adams.
Convince you not to. Stop it. Don't do it.
That's very convincing.
I think that the Chargers defensive line is going to wreak havoc on these guys. I don't think the Raiders are ready for prime time. I think the Raiders got hot at the right time with all the chaos they had last season. They were easily the worst team in the playoffs, in my opinion, last year. In the AFC,
that's a really bold take right there, considering they took the Bengals to the brink.
Don't get me started. The Bengals had the easiest path to the AFC Championship last season. I mean, this is the team that I just don't think is going to make it. I mean, you've got Adams, great. Carr can be good. I just don't think they're ready to take the next step forward. I think that Josh McDaniels, if you look at the way Carr's deal was structured, it's kind of a prove-it year for Carr, and we'll see.
So you got the Chargers in this one, right?
Yeah, I guess we haven't really been given our picks the last couple times, have we?
Yeah, I was going to say, who do you have New York versus Tennessee? Or do you have Tennessee?
Give me Tennessee.
Tennessee. Who do you got? Green Bay, Minnesota.
Green Bay.
I got Minnesota. All right. KC in Arizona.
It's in Arizona, right?
Yes, sir.
Arizona.
Okay. I'm actually going to go with KC on that one. How about, well, you're going to go with the Chargers, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll actually go with the Chargers as well. I think Herbert's just a little bit better. I think it's still going to be a shootout.
Did you say a little bit? Did you say a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
You love
Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams makes people really fucking good. He will make Carr a top 10 quarterback this year. I don't care what you're coming at me with.
All right, let's put that one down to donate because that's not happening.
Top 10 quarterback?
Yeah, not happening.
All right, that's down. That's
$5.
Derek Carr. Derek Carr will be making a donation to Toys for Tots.
Not happening. Not.
All right. So the last two, we got the Bucks and the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. This one's going to be an interesting one too. Who you got?
Godwin playing? Is that the word?
He's limited as of right now. It looks like he'll play, but I am considering him not really like somebody who I want to start.
Probably on a snap count, I would imagine. But yeah. No, I think I still give me the Bucks.
Okay.
TB12, Mike Evans. Is Evans in?
Yeah, Evans is in. I'm going to go with Dallas on this one. I think Dallas just figures it out better on defense. And I think that,
No,
the
Dallas is
CD
gonna.
Lamb, it's got to happen.
It's got
It's got
to.
to happen.
Because
And
if you have
Dalton.
CD Lamb on your team, you either paid up the wazoo or you spent like a top 5 pick on him. So
Yeah.
good job, people.
100%. Hey, I picked him a lot of times with back-to-back receivers, so I got a lot of Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Jamar Chase, CD Lambs. I'm okay with that.
I don't think people are ready to see CD Lamb fail, but hey. And then in a stunning turn of results, I'm going to go with the heavy favorite of the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow. Hold on.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Wait,
you got to explain yourself.
Wait, sorry. Maybe I misspoke. I mean, the Broncos are going to wipe the floor with Seattle. Did I say it backwards?
Oh, you got to explain yourself. Give me a compelling argument for Seattle winning. Just for the hell of it, just for the one fan that's watching right now, give me a compelling argument for this happening.
If it happens, Russell Wilson got hurt.
All right. You heard it here. Russell Wilson gets hurt. Seattle's got a shot. So, wow. So, let's see. We disagreed on...
Now, you had me down for Denver. I don't know if did I misspeak? I meant to say Denver's going to kick the shit out of Seattle.
No, I got you down for Denver.
Yeah.
I never really wrote Seattle. I was just kind of waiting for you to be like, what? But it looks like we disagree on 7 matchups. So, woo! I will post these up on our Twitter page. You tell us who's crazy, who's not. I think you're probably going to get the crazy button for voting the Jets over the Ravens. But
that one does not seem as crazy. I mean, what's the actual spread? That's probably got a good money line on that. But
I think it's got to be like 7.5. It's got to be pretty high up there. Hold on 1 second. I want odd sharks right now anyways.
What's the money? Yeah, I bet you the money line's good. I bet you it's like 1,000.
Yeah.
Maybe not 1,000. I bet you it's like 500-600 probably. I would imagine.
It's going to be crazy. Let's see.
Is it in Baltimore?
6.5. No, I think it's in New York.
Does it give you the money line at all? The money line?
Yeah. Give me 1 quick second. I just clicked on it. So
that's probably the best bet, I think. I don't think that's my most questionable bet either. I think it's that whatever pick. I actually think that one's going to happen pretty convincingly.
So what we got where's the money line? Oh, okay. So we got minus 190 for
Baltimore
opening. We got minus 305 for bet online. I'm just reading down all the odds for all these different places. We got minus 235 for my bookie, minus 315 for bet now, and minus 305 for sports betting.
That's gotta be for Baltimore, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. What's it for the Jets? Is it like?
It's the highest one I see is plus 270.
That's not that great of odds at all.
But every one of them's got the spread is between 5.5 and 7.
I bet you it's going down. I bet you if you look at the trend line, it's going down. I bet you it started at 7 or 8, and now it's going down. So the sharp money is probably on the Jets.
Maybe. I mean, it would be a hell of a, revenge game for Joe Flacco, but I doubt it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the beauty of NFL. And like you said, NFL Week 1 is always something crazy. So we're going to wrap it up. It's Week 1, everybody. Thank you for coming on this journey with us. This is episode 30. We're going to be doing a whole lot more, and we're going to be doing a lot of in-season content. As usual, Visit us on Facebook or visit us on Twitter and visit us on YouTube. We haven't gotten a Facebook page up yet. We will get on that soon. Justin, do you have any articles coming out?
Yeah, article drop for the 3 matchups on Prediction Strike, and then had an article drop on Tuesday for the best bets of the the best player investment options for the Bills Rams. And number 1 on that article was Mr. Darrell Henderson. Number 2 was Mr. Isaiah McKenzie. So
there
giving
you go.
Giving you fire. Keep rolling with it.
There you go. Our Prediction Strike guru over there. I will be coming out with some DFS hits on DraftKings, on Belly Up Live or BellyUpFantasy.com. And as usual, guys, stay frosty. Go visit SeatGeek and go get yourself some tickets because it's football time, baby. All right, guys, we are out. Peace.